Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another polymer clay video at keepsakecrafts.net. A couple weeks ago I shared with you a technique for quickly and easily making a toggle clasp out of polymer clay. And in today's video I thought we could take that technique even further and make a polymer toggle clasp not only functional, but a focal point of a necklace. So to begin with, I like to make a sheet of stripy clay, kind of like this one that I made with just stripes and streaks of colors. But you could always just pull out some technique sheets that you have in your scrap bin and use those just as well. So the way I do this is I pull a whole bunch of colors out of my scrap bin that are related. Like these are all purples that I've got. I've got blue purple, I've got red purples, I've got dark ones, light ones, and I also like to throw in some pearl, and today I've got some glitter. And it's just a little piece of each one. I've conditioned each one separately, and then I rolled them through the pasta machine in pairs. It doesn't really matter how you stack them up, just roll them through in pairs. Now, I should probably get myself a pasta machine for my recording studio down here, but I thought I would show you that you can do this without a pasta machine too. You don't have to have one, it just makes it quicker and easier. This is what I mean by rolling them in pairs. And then I'll stack those up and roll those out in pairs. This is my standard method for making a stripy, marbled sort of mix. You'll see it in almost every single one of my tutorials and classes. Just keep stacking them in pairs and rolling them until you have them all in one big sheet. I'm just going to rip this sheet into about 8 pieces. All the layers are in there. You don't see them so much now, but you will. And I'm going to stack up those pieces. Form that stack into a log. Take that log and start to twist. It's the twisting that gives us our stripes. When it starts to break apart, kind of roll it out longer and twist. The more you twist, the finer your stripes. Double it back on itself and twist some more. I wanted to make sure that you knew that if you're interested in the supplies I use, I always make a blog post that goes with my tutorials. You'll find it if you click on the little I or the tag that's in the upper right here, or there's always a link in the description box. Go there and I will have a blog post, which I always write after I make the video, and there's often things on there that I think of later. But I always put a complete supply list and links to as many of the products as I can find for you. So if you are ever interested in a tool or a product that I used in a video, be sure to check out my blog post, because I always have that. And it's the question you guys ask me the most, and it's the one you can most answer for yourselves just by going to the blog post. I do have quite a stash of supplies, so sometimes I've had things around so long that I couldn't even begin to tell you where I got it. But I'll do my best to get links for you. So now that's really pretty. I like that. Now often I'll take this, I'll fold it, roll it through the pasta machine 2 or 3 times, and make the stripes a bit more subtle. But I kind of really like that, so I'm going to leave that just as it is. This wasn't done with the pasta machine, so maybe it's a little thicker. I think it's a pretty good thickness. I'm using a heart cutter, but you don't have to. I actually started this with the heart cutter just to kind of get the nice shape, and then I shaped the tip by hand. If you are one of my patrons, you'll be able to download this template from my Patreon page, the Patreon posts page. That way you can print it out and trace it off if you want. Don't worry though, if you're not a patron, you can easily make this shape yourself. But if you've benefited from my tutorials at all, you might think about becoming a patron. If everyone who has ever told me that they learned from or were inspired by one of my tutorials became a patron at even one of the basic levels, like $1, $3, or $5 a month, I would be able to make these videos with so much less worry and concern about bills and things, and I would be able to do so much more for all of my viewers. So here's my piece, and yeah, that's a good thickness. If I were rolling it through the pasta machine, I might double up the thickness. I'm just using my fingers here to kind of shape it and give it that sweeping curve at the bottom tip. I've got some opal clay somewhere in the mix, and that has these little bits. So if they stick out, just pull them off. Pull them out. Smooth over the edges with your finger. I'm just working on pulling out that tip a bit more. So cutters are great, but I'm not a big fan of the look where everybody uses the exact same thing, and it's obvious because everybody's pieces are the exact same shape. I really want my things to be unique. So a cutter, like you just saw, is a good place to start. To make the place for a toggle bar, I'm using a 3/4 inch round Kemper cutter. They come in sets like this with 5 different sizes in the rounds. You can get other shapes too. I'm going to make sure and leave about 1/4 inch all around, just for the strength of my polymer clay. And cut that out, and that we'll use for our toggle bar. Now we're just going to do a little bit of shaping on the edges. I will flip this over and use my fingers to just round over those cut edges. And I'm doing it on the back for a reason. You'll see why. If you do it on the back side first, because the front side was against the tile, it was flattened slightly. But when you flip it over and round the front edges, they stay nicely rounded the way you want them to. Make sure to also round out the hole for the toggle bar. And fuss all you want until it's shaped nicely, just the way you like it. Once that is done, you can go ahead and make the toggle bar. All I did for this was I reshaped it into a rectangle with the stripes going along the length because I think that looks nice. I'm just going to start squishing. I'm also not worrying about adding holes yet because polymer clay drills quite easily after baking. That way I don't have to worry about designing their placement quite yet or distorting the clay. Now you want to make sure that your toggle bar is long enough so that it will function as a toggle bar, which means about twice the width of your hole. So now you can bake that just as it is, but I'm going to add a little embellishment to mine. What I have here are some canes that I just pulled out of my stash. I'll have links to similar canes on my blog post. These are very basic and simple flower and leaf canes. I'm using a flexible blade, not because it's flexible, but because it's very thin and will allow me to get nice thin slices. I'll just shape that leaf slightly with my fingers, pinching out the tip a little bit and giving it just a little bit of a curve. I'm going to place clusters of 3 leaves, so I'll have 3 flowers and 9 leaves total. That's one reason it's fun to sometimes make canes for no particular reason, or if you're making cane for something else, to make extra to use in future projects like this one. Especially flower and leaf canes, as they are so useful for so many different things. It's really nice to be able to just go into the drawer and pull them out and not have to stop and make some cane to embellish a project. For the flower, I'm just kind of warming and softening it a little bit on my fingertip. Although it's not really necessary, the sculptor in me can't help it. I'm just going to take the inner rounded edge of this ball tool and shape that flower a little between the petals. This would be a really pretty design if you had lots of different flower canes. I really only had 2, and one of them I didn't care for the colors on this project. But if you had lots, you could cover this or cover a section with flowers. Oh, that looks pretty. So I'm going to add a couple more flowers. So there, I've added my flowers and I'm happy with that. Now on this one, I put little 2mm hotfix crystals in the flower centers, but I thought I would do something different this time. First of all, I'm going to take my ball tool, and it's amazing what a difference just a little indent with the ball tool makes. It makes the petals come up and be more rounded and just look a little more lively. Adding the crystals will do that too, but I thought it would be pretty to have just a smattering. So here's how I store my crystals. The hotfix just means that there's a glue on the back and it's heat activated, which means when you put your polymer clay pieces in the oven, the glue is heat activated, so you don't have to use any other glue to attach them. This little tool used to have a big glob of wax on it to help you picking up tiny things. I've used most of it for other things, but there's still enough on here to do the job. If you're looking for a specialty tool that does this job very well, I'll have a link on my blog. It's called a crystal katana. I'm just going to scatter a few of these hotfix crystals. I'm arranging these flowers and crystals differently than on the other pendant. On the pink one, they were arranged in a cluster. For these, I was picturing more of an S-shaped cascade down the front. So then, one thing I have learned with polymer clay is it really pays to take the time when you're done to go over it very carefully. Pick it up, look at it from different angles, look at the edges. There's often those nice little crescent-shaped dings from fingernails somewhere that you don't notice until after it's baked. So take your time now and check it over very carefully. Make sure you're happy with everything, and then go ahead and bake your piece. In part 2, I'll show you how I turn these into necklaces. So in the meantime, have fun making your own version of these heart toggles. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and take a peek at my Patreon page for how you can get great rewards and help support these tutorials. Happy creating! Bye-bye.